Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their January 20th, 2015 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5A, Police Department Monthly Report. And to give the background information on this agenda item is Chief of Police Jeff Long.
December news. Officer Allison Eggers completed her field training program and is on solo patrol. Officer Casey King and Casey Paul, the two Caseys, were sworn in on December 1st and have begun their field training process. Lieutenants Bill Gurl and Tim Knutson attended the what's called CLEO Staff and Command Training, which is put on by the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association up at Camp Ripley. It's a one-week program in which they learn administrative details relating to police work. We updated the LPD policy, and that was brought before the Public Safety Committee and communicated to our staff. We had many events going on in December, including Shop with a Cop that was held December 18th. It was another successful year for that. And we've had a very successful first annual Cops and Coats that was launched December 15th. KSTP did a brief story on that, and I walked in this morning and our bins are overflowing once again. We've had to make several trips to drop off all the coats that have been brought in. So anyone interested in donating new or gently used coats for domestic abuse victims and their families, we deliver those coats to the Lewis House and they have something when they leave. We also participated in Toys for Tots and made that delivery to Cary 11 and dropped off those toys. We completed our squad car video installation and that's going over very well. Some of the big events that happened this month were the Lakeville Food Packaging Plant Employees Indictment. Many of you saw that. There was a rather large fraud that was going on by employees of that establishment. And we also had a special visit by Santa and Mrs. Claus Christmas Eve that visited some of our officers. Some of the notable cases, Little Caesars Pizza was robbed. It was by an unknown person, entered with a gun, scarf wrapped around his face. The video has not provided a whole lot of help, but a handgun was brandished and $138 was stolen. Might be a good time to point out, if you are ever involved in a robbery, it's much easier to give up $138 than a human life. We always encourage people not to fight back on things such as that. Allow the incident to happen, stay safe, and then call police. We have what we call the smash and grabs that were going on up along the Pava corridor. We have actually made arrests for two separate groups that were doing that. We believe there's a third group that was also participating. So it's another good time to remind people to take stuff out of your car. If there's nothing to steal, they can't steal anything, and that will help reduce theft. An example of why traffic enforcement is good just beyond enforcing traffic laws, we made a traffic stop, and inside there we had a driver that had a restraining order against him, or order for protection against him. Led us to a hotel nearby in which the person that the OFP was against, he was rooming with her, and vice versa. They had offsetting orders for protection. We followed through with the information. We had additional criminal charges that were taking place, drugs and other things that were going on in the hotel. And we had the unfortunate incident of a Lakeville South student committing suicide, and our resource officers have been working very closely with the schools on that. Mental health continues to be a hot topic. In the month of December, we had 8 suicide threats, 8 suicide attempts, however, no actual suicides. I won't necessarily go through the summary, but you'll see it as people of all ages. It's not just one particular group. We had a 33-year-old, 39-year-old, 24-year-old, 28-year-old, 81-year-old. It doesn't matter. It's all across. So we have been meeting with schools, our chaplain corps, and we believe we have a good plan that we're developing that hopefully will begin to offset some of what is taking place. Part 1 crimes year to date, wrapping up the year. These are unofficial numbers, but they're about as accurate as we can do at this point. But you'll see some of the numbers are up. Criminal sexual conducts are up. Robberies are up. Robberies were down. We had 3 late robberies of a couple gas stations and the Little Caesars Pizza, all right around December. So that put us over the top there. Domestic assaults are down. Other assaults are up. So everything's kind of offsets. The property crimes year to date, I won't go through them all, but they're staying some up, some down, and that's what you would expect from year to year. The goal is obviously to have everything go down, but as our population increases, there are certain crimes that are going to increase with that. One particular group, such as the groups hitting IPAVA, can create a number of statistics that aren't indicative of the whole city. When you look at the thefts under $500, 329, a lot of that was theft from automobiles. So if we can focus on reducing the theft out of the cars, we can reduce those numbers. So we have some education that we can work on there. Responsiveness, just again a recap of what we were doing during the month. The overall CAD incidents were up. CAD as computer-aided dispatching incidents were up fairly significantly from December 13 to December 14. Traffic incidents, traffic stops in December of 13 were 8,200. December of 2014, a little over 10,000 total for the year. You can see where our speed citations are at. The December crashes are a little bit deceiving. December 2013 was incredibly bad weather. December 2014 really wasn't that bad, so our numbers were down significantly. Speed citations are up. We like to see that. Just means that we're out there educating people to slow down. Traffic stops are up and DUIs are down. DCC, Dakota County Communications, just shows we're right where we should be. Third highest population, third highest number of calls in the county. That's staying pretty consistent from month to month. And then just a review that we are working in partnership with the community to reduce crime, problem solve, and ensure the quality of life in Lakeville. And I will stand for any questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 5B, Parks and Recreation Department Monthly Report. And to provide the information regarding this agenda item is Parks and Recreation Director Brett Altergott.
This is the Parks and Recreation Department report for December of 2014. Start off at the Arts Center. The play that you see there, Christmas Carol, in those photos, they had 6 performances the week before and then immediately following Christmas, and they had over 1,600 people attend those shows, and that's an average of 266 per show, which with the stage extension is sold out. So they had a great run. It was a phenomenal show for us. Also wanted to point out our attendance. You can see that we had a slight increase in total attendance, and that's our rentals and show attendance for the year. It was 1,100 more in 2014 than 2013. So we really closed out strong in 2014. Also, at the beginning of the month, we had an extremely busy month, and what you're seeing there is you have Monroe Crossing and Billy McLaughlin came in on the same weekend. That was the same day as Holiday on Main, same weekend, I should say. Monroe Crossing split into 2 shows, first time ever, and had a total of 360 people attend, which they were very pleased with because, again, basically split their audience that day. And they're looking at doing the same thing next year, and it's showing a history of growing. And Billy McLaughlin sold out. It was 300, basically standing room only, and that was a Sunday concert. What is not appearing in this slide is also the morning of Simple Gifts, we had Holly's Dance Studio perform. They had 33 performances in a matter of 2.5 hours, and that was prior to setting up for Monroe Crossing. So that Saturday and Sunday were extremely busy. The staff at the Arts Center did a phenomenal job, and we really showcased that facility, and it was a very proud moment for us, and I want to make sure the staff is credited for that, because without them, it wouldn't have happened. And then our revenue, we want to look at the rental revenue for the year. We increased by nearly 3,000, and a lot of that, you get the rentals, the Plays the Thing, Children's Castle, those type of groups that will come in for performances, they pay a rental, and then we get just a portion of the box office for managing the box office. On the park maintenance side, the big project in there is that retaining wall at Antlers Park, the one that had been failing. We were able to get the big block wall in place. So what you see there is the excavation that took place to get that wall in. Restoration will take place in the spring, and removal of the existing wall. What's remaining of that existing wall will be removed in the spring, and we should be buttoned up. We'll have the area early spring sectioned off just to allow the grass to grow. But that'll be a huge improvement at that facility. As some of you recall, that retaining wall was falling into the lake, and the kids were going over there and tossing them out. So we've also had to go fish the old retaining wall out of the water. Again, it'll all be cleaned up, and I would guess by mid-May if Mother Nature cooperates. Also want to point out, Mother Nature was nice to us right before the beginning of the year. We were able to get the ice rinks ready to go. We did open up everything by January 1st. As I put in a report a couple weeks ago in your weekly report, we're putting a Did You Know section. And so the staff want to point out that in 2014 that we had over 21,500 skaters go to our rinks. And that was, again, last year being as cold as it was, I think that's a really good statistic. We were battling there as well. Rinks have been popular, or open and popular this year as weather allows. We made it through this weekend and did not lose the rinks. So all that effort that the staff put in to get them built in time for first of the year was not at a complete loss like it was earlier in the year. Because of the nicer weather, though, park maintenance had a chance to do tree trimming, and we did that in our districts 1 and 3 in our trimming. You can see the staff out there. It's great time if the weather cooperates and we're not plowing. We can get out there and get those limbs that are hanging over trails, over people's private property that are in the right of way. We get those trimmed up, and as well as low hanging in the parks. On to recreation, another did you know is every year we have the Santa Secret Workshop. This year we had over 75 volunteers that put in a total of 375 hours, and that's a value of $3,560 if we had to pay that out in staff time. So that's all volunteering. It's phenomenal to get that. And along with that, we had over 500 people attend Santa Secret Workshop on that day. So we needed all 75 of those volunteers, whether to help the kids shop for their family members, wrap the gifts, get them back out. So over that few hour period, it's many hands make light work. So again, it was another great event in early December. And in our annual, we do letters and calls from Santa. We had over 100 families participate in that. Also in recreation, these are great pictures. They're supposed to be cookies for Santa, but I think one little girl there had a cookie for herself. But we had 30 people attend, or 30 kids attend the Cookies for Santa event, and that was held at the Heritage Center. And that's been an annual event for us. Again, very, very well received by the community, and you can see by the happy faces there. Other numbers that are important in recreation this month is the Learn to Skate program continues to be popular, and we had a new session start on January 10th. To date, we've had 150 participants register, generating $13,746 in gross revenue. And on top of that, we sold an additional 57 tickets to Disney on Ice this year. All right, Heritage Center. December, we had, if you remember, early December, 100 members had a special guest could attend an open house. That was put on by the Active Adults Advisory Committee and Highview Hills. And it was a nice spread. Go over there, and they were saying thank you for a lot of different things and efforts throughout the year. Also in December, Classic Voices Chorus and Red Hat Chorus performed at many senior resident and nursing homes in the community. And they attached some photos from those. Also, this will be the last time that you see this thermometer. If you remember the check from last month for $23,956. So we're pleased to say that the fundraising efforts at the Heritage Center have been completed. We are going to continue to track our membership, and in the month of December, we had 16 new members, bringing our total membership to 1,021 members. And as you can see, there's the breakdown. In addition, punch cards, which will be something we're going to bring forward to the council and look for maybe possibly different ways of doing things. We sold 16 $10 punch cards and 8 $20 punch cards. And those are mostly used for the card playing groups over at the Heritage Center. Also looking at, we were able to say the Heritage Center more than doubled the rental income from last December. So that's a December to December, and then tripled our revenue within the year 13 and 14. So you can see it's starting to pick up. We did have a slow start in 13, but we're very happy with that, and we're over $30,000 in rentals last year. So we're going to continue to track that, and if you noticed in the weekly report last week, we have another long-term rental coming in. And there's a couple programs that we want to highlight. February 6th and 8th, we have the Passport to Paris, a daddy-daughter dance event. We've sold out all of our spots. We have a waiting list, and as more spots become available, we're notifying those families. We've cleared the majority of our waiting list at this point, even to the point, and that's on both events that we've been able to do that. And then the 15th annual ice fishing contest is on February 7th, and it will be at Valley Lake.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 7, Kenyon Avenue Retail. And to provide the background information regarding this agenda item is City Planner Daryl Morey.
I will run through the planning applications associated with the Kenyon Avenue Retail project. We have a preliminary plat, which includes one commercial lot and one outlot, and it's on approximately 4.5 acres. And if you refer to the overhead here, you can see the location in the southeast quadrant of County Road 46 and Canyon Avenue, and it's just west of Interstate 35. The zoning of the subject property is C3, General Commercial District, and there's a number of planning actions that are associated with that zoning, as well as the fact that the property lies within the Lee Lake Shoreland Overlay District. As you heard from Mr. Sarver, they are proposing 2 commercial lots on one block, 2 commercial buildings on one lot and one block, and that would be, this would be the Lot 1, Block 1 of the preliminary plat. There's the 2 buildings that were mentioned, and then the easterly portion is designated as Outlot A. There is a potential or possible future user of a senior housing facility at that location that will have to come in separately for preliminary and final plat approval, and also a conditional use permit as well if that project does proceed. The conditional use permit covers 3 items. First of all, the 2 buildings on one lot in the C3 district. Because it's in the Shoreland Overlay District, there is an impervious surface coverage conditional use permit. They're asking to exceed the 25% impervious surface area, which is allowed in the Shoreland Overlay District, and can go up to 70% impervious surface. And I believe this request is for approximately 68% impervious. And then the third aspect of the conditional use permit is for the drive-through convenience food use that would be with the easterly building that's proposed. Some of the features of this proposed development, again, it's 2 separate commercial buildings. They total 12,000 square feet. There will be, in terms of roadway dedications and improvements, 15-foot easement that will be dedicated along the south side of County Road 46, i.e. the north side of the parcel, to provide additional room for trailway drainage and utility easement because of the classification of that roadway and the county's needs. But again, recognizing the difficulty of the site, the shallow depth, and the topography, the county has agreed to get an easement as opposed to additional right-of-way. And then in terms of Kenyon Avenue improvements, there is adequate right-of-way and width for Kenyon Avenue. The location of the drive access for Lot 1, which was analyzed by our traffic consultant SRF in a study, and the location positioned such that it could maximize viewing lanes for people entering and exiting the site. At this location, there will be some restriping of Kenyon that will take place to provide a dedicated left turn lane into the site in this location. Doesn't involve any additional pavement width, it's purely a restriping. As Mr. Sarver mentioned, there was revised plans that were submitted following questions and comments that were raised at the Planning Commission meeting concerning truck turning movements and the drive-through exiting, and specifically the most prominent being in this location. As you can see, this is the revised site plan. There is a dedicated exit lane for that drive-through where folks that are coming through around the building and through the drive-through can go straight out and exit the site. Previously, that was not there. There were parking spaces there, which the Planning Commission raised the concern that potentially for people cutting through the parking spaces, which would lead to a potential traffic safety issue. So they dedicated this specific exit lane with landscape islands on either side. In addition, they shifted this landscape island slightly to the east, reduced a few parking spaces to provide a better truck turning movement in this location. As you can see from the site plan, again, because of the shallow depth and the topography on the site, there is no opportunity for rear of the building deliveries. So the deliveries are going to have to be made to the front of the buildings, which means truck turning has to exit and circulate through the parking lot to make those deliveries. So they've provided an updated template which shows that the trucks can make that turning radius. So that addresses the concerns that were raised by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on the preliminary plat and conditional use permit at their January 8th meeting and unanimously recommended approval. There was no public comment at the public hearing. The Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Committee also reviewed the preliminary plat, and they unanimously recommended approval as well. As does staff, I recommend approval of the preliminary plat and the conditional use permit as presented, and also adoption of the findings of fact for the conditional use permit. And I can stand for questions.
Item number 7 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 8. Consider notice of appeal to the interpretation of the Lakeville City Code concerning a deck addition. And once again, to provide the information on this agenda item is City Planner Darryl Morey.
I will be brief with my presentation on this item. I know the council does have some background regarding this particular item. This is an appeal application that was submitted by Mark Priori on behalf of Pete Weber, who lives at 21444 High Trail Circle in the Stoneboro 4th Edition development. They're appealing staff's interpretation of Section 11-17-11A2B of the zoning ordinance, and that is concerning setback exceptions for terraces, decks, stoops, and the like. That section of the zoning ordinance was established in May of 2003, and it allows a reduced setback, and I'm going to pick on decks because that's the specific request is pertaining to, for decks that are 30 inches or less above grade. Decks with an elevation greater than 30 inches above grade must meet the structure setbacks, and that is basically due to potential adverse impacts to adjacent residential uses. And this provision has been enforced in the zoning ordinance for more than 11 years. I would like to point out that Stoneboro 4th Edition is a replat of attached townhome development that was approved previously, and we've seen there's been a couple of examples of this. Donnelly Farm, this occurred. It also occurred in Stoneboro because the townhome market was very soft, to say the least. There have been some replats of vacant townhome lots into the small lot or the RS4 single-family lot sizes, and that is something that is allowed by the ordinance, and that was something that was allowed as part of the 2010 zoning ordinance update, which was based on the 2008 comp plan update. Mr. Weber's lot in particular is a lot, there's a row of lots in this area that have only a 100-foot lot depth. So it's a smaller than typical lot depth. The ordinance per se doesn't address lot depth in any of our single-family districts. It talks about lot area. In the RS4, that's 8,400 square feet. Lot width, again in the RS4 district, that's 70 square feet. So the lot is a little bit wider than typical. I believe it's 81 feet in width to be able to achieve that minimum lot area requirement due to the shallowness of the depth. Because of the shallow depth of the lot and the house that was placed on the lot, there is approximately a little over a 31-foot setback from the closest point of the rear of the house to the rear lot line. A 30-foot setback is required for the building and for elevated decks, so that doesn't leave a lot of room for a substantial deck, obviously, onto the rear of this house. I spoke with Mr. Priori a number of months ago when this issue first became an issue of contention. I did offer him the option of having a discussion with the Planning Commission at a work session We do this frequently, and definitely we do it annually as we look at our ordinance for the year and some adjustments that need to be made. Maybe there's some new changes in the industry, there's new trends that we're becoming aware of where we need to make adjustments to the ordinance. And at that time, he decided not to go that route and chose to apply for the notice of appeal instead. And that is an option that is still available. Staff is recommending that the City Council affirm staff's interpretation of that section of the ordinance. And I can stand for questions.
Item number 8 was tabled by the City Council for later action. Well, those were the items presented to the Council at their January 20th, 2015 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. Size 8, please. Awesome, thank you. Thanks for helping me put my skates on. Not too tight now. Oh, thanks for tying my laces. They feel great. Here we go on the ice. All right, ice, here I come. Hey, if you want to learn to skate like me, Don Nuts, make sure you join the Learn to Skate program. Check it out at www.lakevillearenas.org. I'm going back on the ice wall. I'm such a nut. Little help up, please.